It was a Tuesday afternoon when Dona Conceição, 78, decided she would participate in the local TV talent show. Her grandchildren had been urging her for months, telling her voice was still the most beautiful in the neighborhood, but she always refused with a shy smile, her trembling hands adjusting her apron. "Grandma, you used to sing in the church choir when I was little. I remember getting goosebumps," said Miguel, her oldest grandson.
Why don't you TRY?
Conceição spent weeks secretly rehearsing in the backyard, among the basil plants and violet pots. She chose Schubert's Ave Maria, the same song she had sung at her daughter's wedding 40 years ago. Her voice, though more fragile, still carried a purity that made birds stop singing to listen. On the day of the recording, she arrived at the studio accompanied by Miguel. She wore her best navy blue dress, the same one she wore for Sunday Mass, and carried a hand-embroidered handkerchief and a yellowed photo of her late husband in her purse. Her gray hair was neatly combed, and her hands, marked by time and work, trembled slightly. The show's production was hectic that day. Over 100 candidates waited in line, most of them young people in flashy clothes with rehearsed performances. When Conceição presented herself at the reception, the production assistant barely looked up.
Name: Conceição Maria dos Santos.
Age: 78 years old. The young woman finally looked up, surprised. "Are you sure you're in the right place? This is a talent show." "I'm sure, dear."
"Ikame tu sing."
Backstage, other candidates whispered and pointed. "What's an old lady doing here?" commented a 20-year-old. "This is going to be embarrassing," another murmured. Conceição waited patiently for 6 hours. Her legs ached, but she didn't complain. Miguel tried to convince her to give up several times, worried about his grandmother's fatigue, but she just held his hand and said, "I've come this far, my child. I'm going to sing." When she was finally called, it was past 8 in the evening. The judges were visibly tired and impatient. The first, a successful music producer, didn't even look up when she walked onto the stage. The second, a famous singer from the 90s, discreetly yawned. The third, a comedian known for his biting comments, was already preparing a joke about the situation.
Conceição walked slowly to the center of the stage.
The bright lights made her a little dizzy, and she had to lean on the microphone stand. The audience, mainly young people waiting for other candidates, began to grow impatient. "Name and age," the producer said, without looking up from his papers.
Conceição Maria dos Santos, 78 years old.
Giggles echoed through the audience. The comedian made an exaggerated face for the cameras. "And what will you be performing for us today, madam?" the singer asked, trying to maintain professional composure.
"I will sing Ave Maria, by Schubert."
The producer finally looked up, clearly annoyed. "Look, Dona Conceição, with all due respect, but don't you think you're a little, how can I say, outside of our show's profile?"
The audience murmured approval.
Someone shouted, "Let Grandma sing," in a mocking tone. Conceição adjusted the microphone with trembling hands. Her legs felt weaker, but her voice came out firm. "Please, just one song."
"I promise I won't take up too much of your time."
The producer sighed and waved his hand.
"All right, let's speed this up."
"You can start." Conceição closed her eyes for a moment, took a deep breath, and touched the photo of her husband she kept in her dress pocket. When she opened her mouth, something magical happened.
"Ave Maria, gratia plena."
The voice that emerged was not that of a fragile 78-year-old woman. It was the voice of a young woman in love, of a mother cradling her child, of a woman who had journeyed through decades carrying music in her heart. Pure, crystal clear, full of an emotion that few can achieve even with years of technique. The silence in the studio was instantaneous. The giggles ceased. Cell phones stopped recording stories. Even the technicians paused their tasks.
"Maria, gratia plena, Maria, gratia plena."
The producer dropped his papers. The singer put her hand to her chest. The comedian swallowed the joke he had prepared. In the audience, tears began to stream down the faces of the young people who had been scoffing just minutes before.
"Ave, Ave Dominus, Dominus tecum."
Conceição sang with her eyes closed, lost in the music. She didn't see the tears of the producer, who remembered his own grandmother. She didn't see the famous singer discreetly wiping her eyes, thinking of a time when music still had meaning. She didn't see the comedian with a choked voice, recalling his mother who used to lull him with that same song.
Benedicta tu in mulieribus, et benedictus.
Her voice reached notes that seemed impossible for someone her age. Every word carried 78 years of life, of losses, of joys, of hopes. It was pure technique combined with a soul that had truly lived.
Santa Maria, Maria. When the last note faded into the air, the silence lasted for long seconds.
Conceição slowly opened her eyes, as if waking from a dream, and saw something she didn't expect: tears. Many tears. The producer was the first to stand up, applauding. Then the singer. Then the comedian. In seconds, the entire audience was on their feet, applauding a woman who had transformed a television show into a moment of pure transcendence. Dona Conceição, the producer said, his voice still choked, in 30 years of my career, I've never heard anything like it. You reminded us why we make music. The singer approached the stage. It was the most beautiful performance I have ever witnessed.
You have a gift.
Conceição smiled shyly, adjusting her dress. Thank you, my children. I just wanted to share a little bit of the music I carry in my heart. That night, the video of her performance went viral on social media. Millions of views, emotional comments, people sharing memories of their own grandparents. Conceição, who had never used a computer, became an internet sensation without knowing it. But for her, what truly mattered was having sung once more, having felt the music flow as in the old days, having honored the memory of her husband who always said, Conceição, your voice is a gift from God to the world. And on that Tuesday, in a television studio, a 78-year-old woman proved that talent has no age, that music has no borders, and that sometimes the simplest soul carries the deepest melodies.
Trattino basso 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 tra.